Good day and welcome. Welcome to NACTV's Coffee Chat. My name is Lyle Watson, and I'm pleased to inform our viewers today that NACTV is working on a sub-series of our Coffee Chat program. And included in this sub-series, we're aiming to talk at several of our service clubs here in Neepawa and District, and trying to find out just what the state of the activities and membership and their legacy and how long they've been here, trying to find out a few things and the similarities between the service club and possibly the future, what the future holds in terms of membership projects and the continuation of the good work that all the service clubs here in Neepawa have done over the last number of years. So our first service club, and it's not a service club, there is a difference. It's a fraternal organization, and it's known as United Commercial Travelers. And this is I have three members of the local council with me. I have Darlene Gillies, who has been a long-time member. In fact, she was a charter member of the UCT chapter here, or the fraternity here in Neepawa. We have Mandziuk, who also has been a long-time member and is the current secretary-treasurer. And we have one of the younger members of UCT, CTV, and a lot of our viewers don't need an introduction. They're quite aware of who Jason Nadeau is, but he is the current president of the local UCT here in Neepawa. So with that, I'm going to take a look at when and how UCT got started here in Neepawa. And Darlene, I'm going to go with you. And first of all, explain the difference between a fraternal organization and a service club for us.
Well, the only thing is a fraternal organization helps their members first, or kind of thing. They look after their members and then give out to the community if they have assets to do so.
Okay, so that's so it is known as a fraternal organization. And yet, Anne, if you could read out the mission statement of the UCT here for our viewers, and I think they can see it. It also talks about the citizenship and volunteerism.
It does. UCT is a society. It's an international member benefit organization uniting people with a common passion for good citizenship and volunteerism to improve their local communities. So definitely communities has started, is in there.
It's
in
there.
A big way for UCTs.
Yes, and I think we that have lived in Neepawa for a number of years can certainly recognize a lot of the things that UCT has done here locally. And on that note, Jason, we talk about it being an international organization. Is it local, international, national? What is the status of UCT?
You know, it's definitely North American, where it's in the US and Canada, and it's definitely local here in Neepawa, and we have quite a big chapter. Just a few years ago, we had over 100 members. Unfortunately, there's declining enrollment and attrition, and reasons why, you know, you get declinement in these service clubs and groups. But definitely, it's a powerful group that does good things for the community.
Yes. So it just operates in Canada and the US.
Yes.
Okay. Now, charter-wise, when was UCT itself as an organization founded, Darlene?
Well, it was over 130 years ago, 1898. 88, that's right.
Yeah.
I got my shirt on, it says 125 years, but I don't know what year I got this shirt. So that's, yeah, over
And it was founded where?
in Columbus, Ohio, by
And
traveling salesmen with horse and buggy in those days.
Okay, so what was his purpose of forming the UCT as we know it today?
Well, I think these traveling salesmen would be away all week with their horse and buggy, and then on Saturday mornings they would go down to the local watering hole or wherever they went and would discuss their weeks. And then I think they decided one week or one Saturday morning that somebody wasn't there and was sick, and so they thought they should put some money together and give to this person, and I think that's how it all got started.
Okay, and that was in Columbus, Ohio. So do you know when the first one come to Canada, the first chapter?
It came to Winnipeg, but I'm not sure what year.
I'm not sure either.
Yeah, there's
Just
quite a
to,
number.
to add to what Darlene said, some of the first things that they talked about were certainly the accident insurance and then other benefits. So, if someone was sick and couldn't continue their sales route, then how would their family survive? So I think that was some of the the fraternalism behind the organization.
And that was a personal insurance policy for each and every member, was it, at that time?
That's
Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
now, like with Canada, we don't have any insurance in Canada. They still do in the States.
Okay.
But talking about some of the benefits, one thing was the white line on the highway.
Yes.
That was put in by UCT. And also the rail cars. They used to have the wooden and then the other cars, and they finally put all the wooden cars at the back. So, but that was all instigated by UCT for safety.
So Jason, what has replaced the personal insurance benefit to the members? Is there other things that have come aboard in recent years that benefit the members of the fraternal organization?
Unfortunately, the cost of insurance in Canada, it just wasn't something they could sustain, so they had to stop it. There is a type of insurance you are able to purchase separately. Unfortunately, no members in Neepawa that I'm aware of have decided to pursue that insurance. It's just other forms of insurance locally. So now UCT is primarily just to function as a service club in the community to give back to the community with all the good things that it does.
And to encourage volunteerism amongst your members.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we were hoping that Leonard Pritchard was going to be able to join us today, but unfortunately he wasn't able to do so. But Leonard was a person that had been a UCT member for many years, Darlene, and he was certainly recognized for his volunteerism in Neepawa through UCT and other organizations. What are some of the things that he was involved in, for example, that got him that merit of honor?
Well, the one thing was the Touchwood Special Olympics bowling that he did here in Neepawa until the bowling alley was stopped, or the bowling here, and then he took them to Nadeau. And he also used to have barbecues for their wind-ups. UCT sponsored and bought the food and whatever, and members helped him put that on.
And some of their team members got to go on to Special Olympics events across Manitoba and I think even across Canada.
I think so.
Leonard was very much involved with that.
And across Canada too.
I think they did. I
Yeah.
think some of them did, yes.
Wow. What are some of the activities now that you are involved in and as an organization benefiting our community and citizens of this district?
Well, one of the first things that drew both my husband and I to UCT was you asked if he would be interested in putting on a farm safety day for grade 6 students in the school here. And so Paul went and participated in some of the training. It was progressive agriculture, farm safety days. They're all organized locally, and they still have, prior to COVID, we still were helping with them here in
Yes.
Neepawa, but the EMS staff were taking over and doing the organization. But that was a great thing, and we got involved helping with that, and the kids loved it. You had 150 students in at the Ag Society grounds here, and they each went to stations. They were in groups. They went to different stations. They learned about all sorts of different things. They learned how one of the gentlemen that was with the Farmers with Disabilities was here, and he talked to them about how he lost his arm. We had a fellow in Neepawa who didn't have an arm, and Bob demonstrated to the kids and then had the kids try and figure out how to put your shirt on in the morning and get the buttons done up. and
Yeah.
those kinds of things. So it was a hands-on activity that these students got to participate in. And
Not only the citizens, not only the students of Neepawa, it covered quite an area.
it did.
It did.
You know, it went to Plumas and Carberry students, Brookdale students, Eden
Yep.
students got
Just-
to go.
For our viewers, a lot of our viewers will remember Bob Benson, and he did lose his arm when he was 38 years old, but probably could do as much with one arm as a lot of us could do with both arms when it comes to farm labor and whatever task was
Yeah.
he was fronted with. He seemed to have a way to accomplish it, and it was his left arm that he had left. He lost his right arm, which made it that much more difficult.
And I just remember our daughter and her friend helped with that group, helped Bob, and both of them were totally amazed with how, Bob functioned and was able to do everything that he did. And, where they participated in, because we had some shirts for the kids to try on
Oh,
and,
yes,
and
yeah.
put on. So, they had to do something with the one arm and not use it and struggle to get into their shirt with the other one. So
Yeah, and
a
pretty-
good learning experience for
Yeah.
everybody that was
and it's
involved.
certainly thought-provoking
Mhm,
too.
yeah.
Darlene, we were talking about the forms of government or levels of administration within UCT. Could you explain a little bit of the three levels?
Well, there's 3 levels, and that's the local, and then our region, and then international, which is the States and Canada. And we have conventions at region and international, and delegates are selected to go to the regional, which was held this year in Brandon, and Anne attended. The international one is in Columbus, Ohio, this Saturday. It's only a 1 day. Used to go for about 5 days at one time, but with the cost of everything, it's just gone down to 1 day. But that's when some of the awards are given out, and scholarships, and we have different programs that we can work towards to get. One is Medal of Honor, which if you do so many different things in each category, you get some money. And Anne, you sent it in this year.
I sent in our bronze, which would give us $100, and I checked our bank account, and we did get a bronze standing for our Medal of Honor book. So
Very good.
yeah.
So looking back at the national, international, the regional, and the district end of it, you and Warren were very involved in the initial charter of the club here,
Yes.
the fraternalism here. And when did that happen, and what positions did you and Warren hold over the years?
Well, over the years, I guess we were both presidents at some time. I joined on December the 3rd, 1990.
And it hadn't been chartered yet?
No,
as
you
a-
had to have 25 members before you could have the charter, and then I think we ended up with 40 or 50 members for the night of the charter. And Brandon sponsored, you had to have another council sponsor you, and Brandon sponsored us. That year was quite a year, because it seemed like before that we only had councils in Winnipeg and Brandon. And then all of a sudden in 1990, 91 or 2, we had councils in Portage was first, and then Neepawa, then Dauphin, Nadeau, Verdun came in there somewhere, and Boissevain, and at Glenborough.
Glenborough, yeah.
Are all these clubs, or are they still
No,
operating?
Portage, Nadeau,
Glenborough and Boissevain.
and Boissevain
And
Neepawa
Brandon.
and Brandon are still operating.
So we've lost quite a number, Jason, of operating fraternalist, UCT fraternalisms here in Manitoba.
Yes, a lot of clubs unfortunately have had to discontinue their service, and
And that's unfortunate. So now there's evidence here. If you could hold up that, where is that? Right here. No, you've got it.
Yeah, the charter.
This is the order of the United Commercial Travelers, and this was the actual document of establishing the Neepawa UCT here, and it happened in June of 1991. And all the original members are listed on that. Anne, could you just talk about that a little bit?
Well, it's it's something that we have, and it's interesting to go back. I hadn't really taken a look at some of the members and the names that are on here, but when you look at them, like, yes, Darlene and Warren's are there, and some of their family members are also on there as being charter members. So it's interesting to note where some of the people are still around, some of them aren't members anymore, and some of them unfortunately have passed away as well, that were charter members at the time.
You mentioned family membership, and I think UCT has specialized in bringing families together and having family members participate in the activities.
They do, and I was fortunate. I went with Warren and Darlene, took my daughter. So Elizabeth and I attended with them a convention in Louisville, Kentucky, or Louisville, or however you want to pronounce it. And it was interesting to see the extended families that were there, the members that were there at convention. And Elizabeth got involved with helping her dad with the safety day. And she enticed a couple of her school friends to help, and that was a day out of school. They got to skip school when they were in high school, but they got to work at this event. So, and Darlene's family, her grandson has driven the float in the parades when we were having the parades here in Neepawa and putting the UCT float in. So, it does, family members can participate, and they dropped, I believe it was the year that we were in Louisville, that they did drop the age. It had been 18, but young people can now join at age 16. So I thought that was that was positive to have to have members at that age. And I've mentioned Braden, so I have to mention Shelby too, because Shelby's been involved and did some work when she was going to university with Special Olympics that was accredited to UCT and Neepawa here. So, she was working with Special Olympics.
That's Darlene's
granddaughter, yeah.
My grandchildren.
Yeah, both grandchildren. And she was in Minot going to university and was doing that volunteer work there. So,
Jason, as a newer member of UCT here in Neepawa, do you find that family interest still exists, or has that changed over time?
You can definitely see it where, by allowing families to join as a group, it allows people to share their time with their family while they're serving in their community. So it definitely goes hand in hand. And I think the more, I know some of the gatherings we have, I bring my family and they enjoy getting to meet some new people and share good times together when we sit around a campfire or when we're out doing some of the service work involved. Anne kind of touched on the parade, but that's one of the things too that catches your eye when you see these clubs, UCT included, involved in the community publicly in the parades. The thing that drew me to UCT also was how they would support with the blood drives. UCT is always there trying to serve wherever they can to help complement all the clubs in Neepawa, and by bringing cookies and coffee and helping bring people to and from when they're giving blood in the community is really a big service that's really helpful.
UCT was definitely a leader in that, and I would suggest, I hope that UCT could be the leader in bringing the blood donor clinics back to Neepawa. Do you think you could help us out on that at all?
Well, shared health is a little challenging to change there, but if it does come back, definitely.
Yeah, it's hard for our local people to make appointments and then go to Brandon or Winnipeg to give. I mean, it's
it's just a whole different environment.
I mean, I gave 53 times, and that's pretty good for a female. And I think Neil's over the 70.
Really?
I think so. He goes every time he possibly can, but again, it's sometimes hard to get to Brandon when you're supposed to.
Yeah.
Well, and it takes more time, so
Yes.
that's having it local. There was always good good support from the citizens of Neepawa and area to come to the clinic. So.
And of course, with the cost of gas today, it adds up pretty quickly if you're
Right.
driving to Brandon or to Winnipeg.
Well, I think Warren was instigating, the blood donors to come to Neepawa because he had to have blood transfusions when he was in Winnipeg for his operations. So he got them to start here, and they came 2 or 3 times a year there for a
Yes,
while.
they did.
Yes.
Yeah. You mentioned the parade, and of course, COVID has had an effect on all service clubs and business and institutions across the world. So there hasn't been a parade for a couple of years. Has it had any other impacts on UCT as an organization, Jason?
Just being able to meet and to gather has been challenging for many clubs, and to do it properly, because obviously, you could meet, but you're not supposed to meet at certain times during the last 2 years. So we followed all the rules, and we moved to Zoom, and we had a number of members join through Zoom, where we can still gather, and we still continued meeting. And within UCT itself, we were one of the strongest clubs in the province that continued meeting. And the other clubs were impressed that we didn't miss many, if any, meetings at all.
Good.
So that's why we were able to get this Medal of Honor, just because we're such a strong organization here.
Yep.
And a lot of that goes to Jason with his technology and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not the same. Meeting via Zoom is never the same as meeting in person. But when we sort of had windows of opportunity when we could meet outside, and those happened to be when we maybe might be planning a barbecue or a wiener roast or something, and so we jumped on those opportunities, and we had, I think, 2 meetings for sure, maybe 3 meetings over the course of the 2 years where we were outside.
Okay.
And made use of the Rotary Park or the Lions Park
Yeah.
in town, and that
Interesting.
that always brings the members out. You get members that don't want to participate in Zoom,
No.
but they do come. Maybe it's the food, I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
but they do come. The food and just the chance to gather and to chat, which
Yeah.
is what was missing during COVID.
So if the Neepawa area District Chamber of Commerce sponsors a Christmas parade this year, will UCT have its float in there, Jason?
I'm not 100% sure. We definitely would like to. I know that for sure. But I know our current float, it's been, weathering away in an old barn, I believe, from one of our members. So definitely, if we can pull it out and touch it up, we would definitely want to participate.
Because you were always a major part of the service organizations with your float in the parade. And,
Yes.
yeah. And what do you think one of the biggest footprints you've left on the community over the 30 years you've been operating?
Well, I think because we have always touched on the areas that are important in UCT, so the whole thing of persons with intellectual disabilities. So Leonard's work with Touchwood and with the Special Olympics. And we made some purchases for Touchwood of things that they maybe weren't able to get otherwise. One of them was a type of a camera that they could then use to listen to news for the residents that wanted to, the patrons that went to Touchwood. So that was one thing that we did. Sort of just the whole community, Country Meadows, we fundraised and had several concerts at the Roxy with Scott Woods.
Country Blend or
Country Blend, or some of those groups.
Yes.
And we fundraised so that we were able to donate $10,000, I think it was, to Country Meadows when they were in the building stages. Annually we've made donations to several groups. This year we challenged ourselves to give 5 donations of $100 or close to $100 in something. There was pictures of Jason donating 100 bottles of water to the fire department, and Pritchard and I took 50 bottles of dish detergent to Salvation Army. to put into their food bank.
Yes.
You know, you got to be able to clean the dishes that you're eating off of, and people think of a food bank maybe as just food, but
No,
some of the other things that, you know, there are household cleaners that they might need. So we did that. We did a donation to palliative care, and we did a separate donation to the activity department at Country Meadows. So those were, oh, and the Roxy, that was
Roxy,
the fifth.
yeah.
Yeah, the
Okay.
fifth one. So, you know, that's kind of a footprint that we're hoping to leave in the community
Yep.
in doing those things. I just had news too, safety, and the whole idea of safety. The children are able to do safety posters, and so this year we had 42 safety posters that were made by students in different classes within the area in the school division. And we got one of our members in the intellectual disabilities category got a third prize in her category at Columbus, because we choose winners here. First and second prizes go on to our regional council, and
Yes.
we had a couple of winners there that then went on to Columbus. Not the actual posters, that's gone by the wayside. It's
We used to have to take
take the posters.
take the posters and then bring them home from the conventions, wherever the convention was.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
now it's just a digital picture that goes of this poster. So we got news that the one girl got third prize. So we'll be getting a $50 to her. She'll be very happy. She's made quite a little bit of money off of doing safety posters over the number of years that she's been in school. So, you know, that's something that is an activity that I think is great for us to do, to participate in that.
And that
Get
stays
this-
in the mind of the participants for the rest of their life.
Yep.
Oh,
what,
yes,
what
it
results
does,
come
yes.
out of that.
That's
Yeah.
right, yeah. Yeah.
Darlene, what is there any highlights for you that being a charter member and being a member, and you've served in all capacities, both nationally and internationally, or most of them. Is there anything that stands out about UCT and your involvement?
Well, can't say any. Well, I guess after I'd had my 6 years in on the international board, that was in Indianapolis, and I was able to have my whole family come. I think there was 14 of us altogether that came down and for the banquet, and some of them attended part of the convention, but that, I guess, would be the highlight of my, as I would say, my career with UCT, because I treated it like a position, and I helped a lot of I was a regional rep, and I did help with Dauphin, Nadeau, and Portage. No, not Portage that much. Bill Chappell was in charge of Portage. So it was Erickson on and all, I guess, was the three that I had.
Interesting. So you've had quite an experience, and I don't think I could express the passion that you and Warren have had for UCT. UCTV has been extraordinary.
Yeah, and we enjoyed it. You
Yeah.
know, we really did. It was,
So you received as many benefits as you were able to share with other people.
yes, I did.
Good for that. Well,
Well, and I
well-
just want to add, Darlene didn't say, but she was also Volunteer of the Year, Volunteer of the Year it was when you were awarded it. So for the things that she had done in UCT and her community too. So
Wow.
that was another award that she
Yeah,
got.
that's this pin here, isn't it? I
Okay.
think, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's got to be. We commend you for that, Darlene. That's for
And
sure.
then this bracelet was presented to me when I went off the international board in Indianapolis with the diamond
Oh,
in it. So
very nice.
2010.
Wow. What about you, Jason? What stood out, or what stands out for you in terms of the accomplishments of UCT, and what brought you into the organization with the enthusiasm that you have for it today?
You know, I've always seen UCT as a group that's giving to the community, and I think that as a whole, it's it's a very humble group, so we're not visible everywhere, but we try to maintain some visibility to help with membership. One thing that hasn't been mentioned yet is one of our pillars, so to say, would be cancer. So we have a lot to do to support cancer, and some of our members, such as Anne here, she likes to really participate in some of the cancer events that are happening, and she represents our group, and whoever is able to go would participate. And I think just supporting the community as a whole is important.
So you support community members that are stricken with cancer? Is that?
And well, the last few years I've participated in, well, virtually the Run for the Cure, and so UCT has supported me in doing that, has sponsored me to do that. So, this past October, it was a nice October day. I got to walk up and down the road outside of my home because the run wasn't happening. It's going to go in person this fall in October, but for the course of COVID, we were just walking on our own and collecting sponsorship. So, and it's always nice to be able to say that UCT has sponsored and, feels that it's important to support breast cancer research in Canada.
So you're a cancer survivor then?
I am, yes.
Also,
2010.
Wow.
So 12 years.
Yes.
Well, good for you. Good for you.
And also the Alzheimer's Walk. We
Right,
sponsor that too.
Yeah.
Or did.
And again, that's something that didn't happen
No.
because of COVID. So,
Like we used to do the barbecuing of the hamburgers and wieners and serve the drinks and ice cream. But that hasn't happened the last 2 years.
yeah.
Will it happen again someday?
I hope so.
Yeah.
You know, because it is something that's out there and needs to be some more research or something done, and that's usually what the funding was for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just kind of finding it interesting, sitting here reflecting on what you people are sharing with us. And we belong to organizations, and within yourself you feel, well, God, we don't do much, we're this, and this. But when you stop and really bring it out to the on the table, there's many functions that UCT has developed and sponsored and supported over the years. So for the betterment of the community, I think that Neepawa District can be thankful for the fact that there was a charter club here back in 1991. And Darlene, you had mentioned earlier that there was some hesitation about getting the charter. What was that to do
Well,
with?
that just, some people thought there were enough clubs in town already and there wasn't room for another club. But we had, most people that joined didn't belong to other clubs either. So,
Yeah.
And some of the other ones did, but I mean, and they were kind of our leaders to start with, and the ones that had been active in either some lodge or a service club.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting when you start tallying up what good things that has been done for the community by UCT.
And my experience, of course, with Rebecca's and Oddfellows is where I was able to lead with that, because I'd been a Rebecca ever since I was 18 or 19.
Yes.
So, and that helped me a lot.
And unfortunately, Oddfellows was one of the clubs that folded in Neepawa.
In
wasn't it?
Neepawa, yeah.
Yeah. So we've had a few organizations, Masons being another,
Yeah,
that have folded, that we don't have representation here.
because they, Eastern Star and Masons were a big organization in Neepawa at one time, and they've gone by the wayside. And well, Rebecca's and Oddfellows was quite large too.
Yes. Yeah. Back to the current membership, and Anne, you had mentioned earlier about you still had quite a number of members, but there is a change in age. And what have you discovered about the average age looking at it?
Well, we've got about 43 members in our organization right now, and our age ranges from 22 to about 90 plus. And so I did some calculating. I'm not good in math, but if my calculations are correct, our average age is about 68 years of age.
68 years.
Hmm.
It'd be interesting to know what the average age was when it was chartered back in 1991.
Right, yeah, it would be.
It
would
probably would be 40-ish or in that
I
area.
would think
maybe.
so, because there's a lot of young ones on there.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
looked at the names there earlier, and there was lots of young people.
be. Hmm.
So, Jason, as president of the local chapter here, or the council, in terms of membership and in terms of members attending meetings, like how many of those 43 current members would you get out at a meeting?
You know, prior to COVID, I would say at least there was a solid 12 to 15 members on a typical meeting. However, with COVID, people are reluctant to get out. But now things are changing again, where people want to be more social and get out of the house, and that's part of the aspect of joining a group, I think. And I think those are decent numbers, you know, to have 25% on average. The next question to ask, though, is how many are actually active, right? Because
Yep.
you have a lot of people that are members, but
Yep.
and we really recruit our members. We ask them to help support with our fundraising, and they do. So we get them to help sell tickets, and people do what they can, and they give what they can, which is really nice.
But there's no stipulation as to how many meetings, for example, in a given year, that they have to attend in order to retain their membership,
Not that I know of.
No,
as long as they pay their dues.
I think, yeah.
because we have some members in Winnipeg, and we have some members in BC, and
Yeah.
so.
That had never lived in Neepawa, or how?
Oh,
what?
no, they did live in Neepawa.
Okay, so they have a connection to
Yes,
Neepawa.
they do, yeah. And
Oh.
when they are back visiting, they usually come to our function if we have something while they're here.
Okay,
So that's kind of interesting too.
Hmm.
yeah, that is interesting.
Part of a family, right?
Yes,
You
that's
Yeah.
right, part of
Yeah.
the family, yeah.
And that's one thing that UCT has really exemplified, is that being part of that family. It's a big thing, obviously. So in terms,
I was just going to say, one of the things when you talk about family that we haven't mentioned at all, and we have scholarships that are specifically for family members. So children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews of members can apply for scholarships.
so that's still current then.
That's still
Oh,
current,
yes,
yeah.
that's-
Mhm.
Okay.
Our daughter got a scholarship. Darlene's grandchildren have got scholarships. Some of your nieces and
Nieces and
nephews,
Warren's nieces and nephews,
yeah,
yes.
have gotten scholarships. So, you know, it is. There's been a lot of dollars flow into the pockets of university or technical school college students through UCT,
Yes.
Neepawa UCT.
Yep.
So,
And I have really promoted the scholarships over the years too. And we had the one presentation out at the golf course, must be 3 years ago now, where I think there was 10 scholarships given out of, I think it's $700 now that they give. It used to be 500, but I think it's 700 now.
And there was 10 given out locally.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Wow.
Or of members, like some of them came from Brandon and
Oh,
Boulder.
okay.
But
That's
Yeah.
quite an accomplishment, isn't it?
it is. So that's, you know, and that would be that fraternal benefit part of the
Being a
the whole-
member.
Yeah, being a member.
Yep. That's a big benefit too, when you think about it.
Yep.
Darlene, looking back over the years and your involvement, and looking forward, what does the future hold for you? And I'm going to say for a person your age and this our generation.
I don't know.
Yeah, we
Yes.
don't know.
We hope the younger members will carry on. And
But you still go to meetings.
oh yes, I still haven't attended the last. Well, I don't know when we had our last one. Last summer, down at Riverbend.
Our last what?
Social.
Oh.
yeah.
Social, yeah.
Yeah, it's been some time since we
Yeah.
had a gathering
Yeah.
outside. It's the weather.
Yeah.
It's either wet or frozen out there.
Well, even the last one you had to move to the schoolhouse, didn't you, down at Riverbend?
That's right.
Well,
Yeah.
you better wait for a day or two before you hold one at the schoolhouse because it's still pretty wet around there.
Oh, yeah. If it's not the water, it's the mosquitoes that'll get you.
We had, it was actually what it was a regional
Yes.
meeting for the Manitoba councils. And we picked a weekend in August, and it was the only rainy weekend of the whole summer that everybody was coming to Neepawa. And we had planned outdoor games and everything
Yeah.
in the park. And so fortunately, Jason's a Lions member as well, and so he rescued us by opening the doors and starting the fire in the schoolhouse, and we had a wonderful time.
Yeah.
And it was that fraternalism and meeting with the other members from the other groups that definitely made the day. But because it was raining, it turned some people off, that they decided they weren't going to come because they knew we were outside, and we couldn't get the information out to people quick enough because it was the last minute decision from Jason to go indoors. So
You know, executive decision there at the time.
yeah,
But I think it goes to show that the clubs in Neepawa work together cohesively, and wherever there's a gap, one club will step up. And I think that's what makes Neepawa such a good place, because there's a lot of clubs, and they all work with each other in a way by filling in wherever there's a need.
And you can't put a value on that partnership of clubs and people working together. It's just, and we're very thankful for that, or we should be very thankful at Neepawa, the way our community and the clubs work together.
well, I'm the secretary, so I can I don't have perfect vision of each set of notes and minutes that I've taken, but we had some minutes prior to COVID where we were going to be investigating having a Christmas gathering with a couple of other organizations that, where we've got cross membership from UCT. And of course, that, we started planning and thinking about it at the end of 2019, and then we weren't able to do anything in
So I
20
guess
or
we could
21.
start over again.
Yeah, we'll have to start over again and see if there's still interest. But it was, because each of the groups was only getting, 10, 12 people maybe coming out for a meal
Yeah.
and a gathering. So we thought, well, if we could combine, we could have a really interesting group, and you never know what's going to happen when people get together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. And thinking how things have changed in the service clubs over the years, that was one thing that used to happen on a regular basis, where some service clubs got together, and whether it was a golf tournament or a bond spiel or whatever, but they come together in terms of a partnership to sponsor it, but also brought their families and everybody to that event. And that's one thing we've lost as I look back on our service clubs and the organizations.
Well,
today.
UCT always had a bonspiel here. What
And
else?
then there was a golf tournament.
Golf
that-
tournament that the
that was
region,
done
that went
regionally.
around.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that, yeah.
And whether things will ever get back to normal after COVID, maybe some of those changes are here to stay, and maybe there won't be as
Yeah,
many of those gatherings. Who knows at this point? in
Or
time.
they might take on a different form too. You never know. Like it's maybe it was starting to be time for a change, and maybe there will be this bigger and better event too. I can't envision what it might be at this point in time, but there might be something that will take its place.
But Anne, with your experience in your career over many years and working with a lot of communities within our Neepawa district, do you feel good about some of those changes that might be coming, or do you see changes coming, I guess?
I see changes coming because a couple of other organizations that I belong to, the membership has dwindled. The age of the membership has increased. The ones at the bottom end of the age levels, the younger ones aren't being brought into the organization. So I think we have to make some changes to try and get those people into an organization. It's maybe not going to be the organization that started out, UCT in Neepawa, when Darlene started in 1991.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's going to have to change. Maybe it's going to be where we do Zoom meetings and only have, and don't do those or function with an executive and then have larger general meetings where the ideas are brought forward and people volunteer to do things. I don't know, but I think there needs to be, we need to try and get a diversity in ages and people joining.
And people joining.
Yep.
Darlene, looking back and again within our generation, do you feel there's a hope to keep UCT going here as a charter?
I think there is. I mean, you just have to get out and invite people to come to a meeting, or to, are they interested? Like if you, in say one of the categories, like safety or touchwood or, those kind of things, they have to have an interest in something to join usually today.
Yeah. Jason, being in your career, working for the school division up at McCreary, do you see an interest in the upcoming generation and the students that are attending school? Is there an interest for community service and volunteerism?
I could only hope that there is, because the way education has evolved is you can now get a credit in volunteering, so in your community. So it just depends where you're going to volunteer. There's so many things now. We haven't had this many activities, and they've never gone so far.
Yeah.
My son's hockey goes all over the province. Sports didn't go that far years ago. So now we're seeing more and more intensity in the different activities that we do, and that creates more need. And so unfortunately, we're seeing our volunteerism change. But I'll spin it on you a bit and say, I think that's what people need to do, no matter what group you're a part of. Service clubs are a great way to get out into your community and help support a larger. There's power in numbers. Yes. And I think getting together, it's important to join a club, any club, just so you can help support somewhere in your community. And it's not as intensive as people think. It's a few hours a month. It's not, your whole life, but it can be too, because, if you're passionate and you want to really make a difference, that's something that's possible also.
But you can make a choice. You can belong and participate at your level of comfort, right?
That's great.
But in terms of the younger generation, the sports and the intensity of these programs, they're almost like a competition for the service clubs, aren't they?
It is. Obviously, youth have to decide, do they want to volunteer or do they want to play sports in some degrees? So definitely there's always going to be a competition, and I think you can, if you make that decision that you want to help out or you want to do something, you're going to make it work. So, we're all busy, everyone's busy, and we all work and we all have jobs and we all have different degrees of responsibility in our own families. But if you are interested in making something happen, we can all make it happen when we want it.
Yes. So
you have to make that a top priority, I think, because I think you have to give back to the community you live in. And, those that have their jobs, they, one way to appreciate that is to give back in your community.
It's those things you just mentioned, Jason, is that a topic of conversation in the classrooms at all?
Definitely in those classes with where students go and give back. So there's service credits where students can get a credit for volunteering and participate in their communities. It's a community type of credit.
Yeah.
But I think as a whole, schools are always doing a lot of things to help support the community, such as gathering food, doing food drives to help support in their communities, fundraising for different things that come up. One school I'm thinking of, someone unfortunately had a fire and lost everything, and the school bound together and did a huge fundraiser, made huge amounts of money to help support that family. Yep. And shortly after, there was someone in their school that had cancer, and they wanted to support them. So again, the cost of traveling for that family for cancer treatment in Winnipeg was through the roof, so that everyone pulled together. So I see schools as doing that good work. I think thanks to the staff that help support the students too.
Yes.
So there's the teachers and the EAs and the school. Everyone in the school is really helping, and we have committed families all over where they really help support too.
And it probably is one of the better, or if not the best way to connect with the future generation is through the students and through the school.
That's right. You start when you're young, and
Yeah.
it'll be something that's built into you. Is
Yeah.
that giving back?
Well, you keep up the good work and make sure you make the
Oh.
right connections and increase the membership of our service clubs here. With that, I'm going to ask each of you to give a closing thought, not a final, a closing thought on our discussion today as to where we were and where we are now and what the future holds. And that's kind of a loaded question, and if you're not comfortable answering it, that's fine too. But if you could just kind of reflect for a moment and think about UCT in this case, where it started, what's happened in between, and the future of the club here in Neepawa. I'd appreciate your thoughts, and I'm going to ask for a volunteer who would be interested in leading us off in that discussion.
Anne's always good at speaking, so she.
Well, I'm just sitting here thinking that, we looked, we talked about the whole idea behind UCT back in 1888 was to help a group of people, the traveling salespeople, and so I think there is room still for that fraternalism in an organization. There's room for that fraternal organization to help in the community, and I don't see the pillars that we talk about: the cancer, the intellectual disabilities, safety, working in the community. Those aren't going away anywhere. Nobody's going to magically. I wish somebody could magically get that cure for cancer, that we wouldn't have to use that word anymore. But it's not going to be in my lifetime. So we still are, the things that UCT does are still very relevant in our community, and it's to try and encourage membership to continue with the members that we have, keep the members that we have, and to encourage other people to join our organization. And I think I've been sitting here thinking, what do they call it? The most damning quote is, we've always done it this way. We don't have to always do it one way.
No.
There's more than one way to slice a banana.
Yeah.
And so let's explore how many ways to slice that banana to get it onto a plate and serve it to somebody, and take a look at that and encourage people to come into an organization. Ask them for their ideas.
Yep.
See what they'd like to do. Inclusion in it, yeah. And inclusion of the young people, because that's, what are they interested in? They might not be interested in coming to a meeting, ever. They might want to sit home and work on the behind the scenes stuff on the Zoom meeting. They might want to work on a Facebook page for the organization. So what are their interests that we can fit into the organization to make it better?
Well, that was very well spoken, Anne, and that was a nice thought to share with our viewers.
Thank
Darlene, what would your thought might be on...
Well, for the future?
Well, just your thought in general in closing our program today about where we've been and where we are and where we're going.
Okay. Well, I think we've been very successful in Neepawa with UCT, and I'd like to see it continue. We maybe need to bring more members involved sometimes. And of course, with the last 2 years, we haven't been able to do a lot of the things that we used to do. So, I mean, as Anne says, it doesn't have to be done that way. We can do different things.
Well, very good. Jason, as the current president of the council here at Neepawa, you get the last words, and if you could share your thoughts on the three things we've outlined.
Definitely. You know, I think a lot of service groups, UCT included, has a lot of formality, and people are becoming a little more less on formality, more casual. When I was a kid, if you didn't go out in jeans, you know, there was something wrong with you if you had sweatpants. Now, if you look around, people wear pajamas, right? We're more casual as a society. We're not as formal. So I think groups have to adapt and change also. And same thing with commitment. People don't want to sign up these days for a commitment. So becoming a member is a commitment. It's almost like people, if you ask someone to help you for the night, they would. For one day, they would. But for that long-term commitment, people like to keep it more short and flexible for their own busy, hectic lifestyles and schedules. So I think all service clubs are going to have to rethink what level of commitment they're willing to accept from members in order to have members.
Yep. Well, that's certainly some good thoughts to close our program with, and I want to thank you, Darlene, you, Ann, and Jason, for taking the time to join us here at NACTV to have this table discussion about service clubs and organizations here in our district, and I thank you very kindly for that and sharing your time and thoughts. And to our viewers, I remind you, as I said at the opening of our program, that NACTV is in working to put a program together with each of the service clubs in Neepawa. And so if you enjoyed what you heard today and you want to participate, I'm going to ask if you're interested in UCT becoming a member, Jason, what would be a good way to do it?
You know, you just have to contact any current UCT member, myself, Darlene, or Ann here, or anyone that you know that's a member. Please contact them and we'll help get you signed up. And, you know, you can start doing your part to help support your community. And all it takes sometimes is participating as a group. And it's a nice social outing at the same time. You get to see people you may not have an opportunity to socialize with.
Yep.
So it's a good social aspect too, joining any type of club.
I thank you for making that point, because the social part of our lives has certainly gained a new level of importance throughout COVID and where we're at and what we have now. So the social aspect is certainly important. So thank you for bringing that up, Jason. Well, our time has run out on us today, and again, my name is Lyle Watson. I'd like to say thank you for watching, and stay tuned for some more Service Club specials as NACTV gets the preparations made to air them, and we hope you enjoy them. So take care, stay healthy, and stay happy. Till next time, have a good day.